Stop corporate bullshit showing up in your workouts. Look, today I want to go through what I see and the patterns I see with so many of the high performers that we work with. We have access to so many different amazing humans that are in executive roles, managers, business owners, whatever it might be. And you start to correlate a lot of high performance habits that these people are making to build a more clear path of what really makes them successful. And I want to highlight today, whether you're in that position currently and want to reinforce that with your workouts, or whether you'd like to get a little bit more out of your work, find some more drive, meaning, or momentum there, and see how much the workouts themselves can actually apply to that directly. So being able to get rid of what starts to become, I guess, a frustration for a lot of people I know in the corporate space is we spend so much time planning and talking and not wanting to look silly that we get in the way of not taking action and taking that iteration over time. And the people that are movers and shakers, the people that are moving forward in the world are the ones that don't mind looking silly, don't mind trying something new to move forward quicker. And this is a huge frustration in the space of business as it is in the health space because we can't, we don't follow through on the small promises. What that leads to is that we don't follow through on the things we said we would do, which is always a massive confidence killer, but also that cross-pollination towards how you show up and how you conduct yourself with a level of potency in the workplace. And I think there's a huge correlation worth chatting through and making sure that you're mindful of how you can strengthen one with the other for yourself. Because I certainly know for myself that the ability to follow through on the things I said I would do is really high. And then if I say that I'm going to do something, I have a pretty high confidence that I'm going to do it. I'm not going to be able to change outside pressures or environments and all the stuff, but of the things I can control, I'll follow through. And I think being able to have that kind of potency in the way that you talk and the strength of your word, no matter what industry you're in, the high performers in that field will see it. And they are able to appreciate the people that get shit done. And I think that's where a lot of people find themselves falling behind in both the workouts and the corporate space. So, look, Mandy, I'm going to throw you a big bowl of questions there. But look, I think the big one here is you're talking to many of these clients too, obviously. We're getting really tactical around certain numbers. We're starting to get a little bit more strategic. And I think even a discussion with one of our coaches this morning with a client who is getting in the way of themselves is coaching people how to conduct themselves in a coaching relationship in order to access more out of a coaching program, right? Fundamentally, two people can get wildly different results because one knows how to extract stuff from a program and to apply and iterate and move forward. And the next might consume, and mistake that for action. What's separating, I guess, the high performers for you in that space?
I think I have a bunch of ways I could go with this. I've got a scenario of a lady I was talking to yesterday, actually, and we were talking through, she's into mastery now, and she's done really, really well. And she's been unwell recently, and a few things are tripping up as, life gets in the way. And we were talking through the belief and the ability to actually continue the progress that she's on. And it's kind of that certainty piece, right? And she's like, in my heart of hearts, I don't feel like I actually believe that this can continue, that I can actually progress at this. And it triggered a thing for me because I saw a quote from Dan Sullivan the other day, the guy that wrote the Gap in the Game book. And it was about how there's always going to be uncertainty in your environment and in the world. So what you need to work on is that certainty in yourself. And essentially that ties back to what you said before, Ollie, which is that belief in yourself to do the thing you said you would do. And when you do that enough times, you have this confidence that whatever you say you're going to do happens because you do it. And that builds this certainty that regardless of the uncertainty on the external scenario, you have the certainty in yourself. And so we went through this conversation of, okay, there's a whole lot of variables and unknowns here. But what if we just work out what are the next things you need to do and you make sure you show up and do those and you build that confidence in yourself? And she liked that approach because it suddenly removed this big, scary, I don't know, to I know what I'm doing right now and I know what that next step is. So that was quite a fun conversation to have because it kind of makes it very tactical, right? And you're ultimately in control of it because you get to choose whether you show up for yourself or not.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it just came up in our squads, right? Where it can be as subtle as walking past the lollies or the chips or the whatever snack that you used to always buy that you knew didn't make you feel good, and you always felt crap 30 minutes later, but you just couldn't bring yourself to not buy the thing. Being able to bring the potency towards having the confidence to be able to walk past that multiple times and just subtly build it up, right? It sounds in itself so small, and it's so easy to just push that off as not, it doesn't matter. But if you do that day after day, week after week, it just like any other aspect of applying a skill or an action that you said you would do, it's reinforcing, it's layering and layering that armor of confidence that you can build. In the same way that every time you say it doesn't matter, I can miss this, it's not going to work, whatever, nobody's watching, it just becomes another slice in that confidence, right? And I think being able to give yourself that ratio of just every time that I'm breaking that promise. It's not to anyone else. It's not hurting anyone else, but it shows up in your language. It shows up in your self-doubt. It shows up in a lack of momentum. And that's going to be just as powerful in the workplace as it is going to be in your workouts. So to what you've just mentioned, with all the variables that you have at play, your workouts does not need to be one of them. And being able to get to a place that you can go through a season if required of removing shit and removing noise from your life in order to find that 30 minutes for you is something that everybody can do. I don't care if you're the president, the prime minister, the CEO of the biggest fancy new firm, right? You can find that 30 minutes because I've seen it being done with people in a harder spot than you are right now, I promise you. And being able to get back to a place that I can control that spot for me, action a step, that I have, that I can do on a regular basis is just going to make such a big difference. Because do that workout in the morning. Now, where do you go? You're off into that meeting. You move into a certain meeting, everyone's flapping around, talking around planning and how to use big words, but they don't actually know what they're talking about. And you say, I've got this. Leave it with me. I'll get it done. The high performers in the room understand that, if this is I got this guy, he's so much more reliable than 10 other people that are using fancy words they learned in the dictionary last week, right? Being able to build it back to that level of confidence around just ownership of a task, and I'll follow through on the things I can control. It's always appreciated. You're always the person to go further and ascend in a work environment as much as just the quality of people that you typically surround yourself with. Now, unless you've got anything to add there, I was going to build on. You let me know.
Go, keep
Cool.
building.
Where I know you want to go with this is this space that you and I have both found ourselves in before, which is the first time that we do something new. It could be the podcast, it could be the live video, it could be our first workshop. Is this going to work? Are we going to look silly? And the amount of fear that comes from looking weak, pathetic, silly, unprepared, whatever it might be in a scenario. And the amount of people, 99% of the population is probably an understatement, sitting on the sidelines, judging the person that looks silly because they could never be in that same position. And this is exactly why so many people do get better at talking about it and finding fancier ways to talk about it rather than do the thing, is because they're the absolute worst at not taking action because they're judging every single person that looks unprepared, but actually just doing the stuff. So in the same way that the people in the gym that feeling judged are typically the ones judging everyone, but like, oh, that person looks weird. Person's wearing some funny pants. Look at the color of the shoes. Whatever crap's coming up, right? They're usually the people that feel the most judged. It's exactly the same when it comes to putting yourself in an uncomfortable environment, feeling silly, weak, pathetic, unprepared. Just being mindful of the words we use to actually push ourselves into environments of growth and allowing ourselves to look a bit silly when we're starting something new. And if you're I had a conversation with a guy, it was probably 18 months ago now, but it's so stuck in my brain. And it was this bloke in a very high-powered, real estate firm. And he was like, look, I feel like an alpha in the boardroom and I don't feel like an alpha in the gym. And I was like, well, that's why you've been avoiding the damn thing for 18 months, right? Let's control what you can control. So in 18 months from now, you don't feel like the guy who can no longer wear a suit in the boardroom, right? And I think it's one of those classic, like, do the hard thing now for the easy life later, or continue to do the easy thing now for the hard life later. And just being able to look a little silly is that little hard thing.
It's such an easy one to slip into, right? As you do something, you suck a bit at it and you're like, oh, that didn't feel good, so you just avoid it. And it shows up so often in the training space, right? And I think in many areas of training, but hugely in that getting into the gym if you've never been at the gym, or getting into the free weight section or the weight section of the gym if you've only ever gone on the treadmill, sort of thing. That transition into this new thing where you feel like you're going to be judged and you're going to look silly. And the truth is, you probably will look silly, but who cares if it's the step you need to take to get to the end goal? And I think the thing that really can help is actually looking at what is on the other side of that challenge. What do you stand to gain by pushing through that challenge? And actually get over yourself and get in there and look a bit stupid for a while. Because if you do, you're going to be one of the few people that does, because most people are going to sit on the sideline and talk theory about it and not actually do it. But yeah, it is. It's butting into that edge of yourself and being okay with, okay, this sucks. I'm a learner.
Yeah, but at the same time, like it's you and I have talked about this before with someone who wins their first, medal or something at the Olympics, right? And then 2 or 3 in, they kind of get to that point that they didn't enjoy the first three. And when they go for their fourth or their fifth, they're like, I'm just going to appreciate this moment, right? And it's a really nice highlight because you see it in every single sport of how much we focus on the goal rather than that process towards it. And if you find yourself in that opportunity where you are the quote unquote learner, you're in that magical spot where you get to make so much more progress now than you ever will again, but you
Yeah.
completely miss the enjoyment of that process because you're so worried about being judged. And I had a funny example of this the other day. You go to the gym in a certain pair of shorts and a top, and then it's cold, so you put another layer on top. And it turns out I was wearing a double pattern, shock horror, right? And Maya pointed this out to me. Thank you, wife. And but it was like, if I think about that day, do I remember what anyone else was wearing in the gym? No, I have no idea because I was so focused on my world, right, and my double patterned top and bottoms. And everyone else is in the exact same spot, right? So it's a nice reminder you're not that important. Nobody really cared anyway, right? So just being able to step back from that, like it's just give yourself the ability to remove all of that judgment. So what you can actually focus your time on is appreciating how much progress you can make in that first 20% of your learning activities of anything will literally be like 80% of your results, right? It's a classic Pareto principle. Where I was going with this, though, is this classic rule that one of my really early mentors told me, and I've stuck with a long time, which is your goal works on you more than you work on it, right? And it's this whole character building process, and a better and more appropriate way of looking at the focus on journey, not the outcome, right? Like it's what's the skill really being built? And I think this is why I'm not just applying this to your consistency of workouts. It's a muscle that will be built that applies to your work as well, and it's that conviction, right? It's the potency in what your word actually means. And if you're the guy that's showing up to four workouts a week because you said you'd do it and you're locking it in, and when it's in your calendar, it happens. It also has that ripple effect on how you manage the team, how you lead others, how that presentation goes. And I've seen it so many times. You can tell me it doesn't matter, but I promise you it does, that the correlation between the two is very strong.
It's so interesting because it comes back to that judgment piece, right? If you are building the skill or the muscle in yourself of being able to show up and be the learner and do the thing that doesn't always necessarily feel good right now, but you know it's building towards something, you then have this mindset and you will, as a manager or as anyone who kind of oversees people or in any sort of role, probably approach those same situations in the way, which means you'll be a better manager, you'll be a better parent, even all of those scenarios where you have an influence on someone else, when you have this kind of one personal accountability, but also it's not just accountability, it's kind of what's the word I'm trying to think of there? It's kind of kindness in a way. You're kind to yourself in the fact that it's okay to suck a little bit at the start and be the learner. You then kind of can give that to the people who you're serving and who you're working with as well. So it's a double skill set. Yeah, it is. It's self-compassion in a way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Give me an example here because I'm trying to think of one and I'm coming up blank. But I've had many a discussion around trying to teach your kids of a certain activity, trying to get them to grow into the person that you're proud of. And it's that general discussion of being able to show up with a level of focus on effort as opposed to the outcome. And like the most cutting thing that you can get in that scenario, be like, but Dad, you don't do the same, right? And I think being able to have that conviction in your word, like I've certainly had examples come up where the dad's reaching for the cookies and the kid reminded them of it, or whatever that example is. Like you absolutely are right. It's not just showing up in your work environment, how you're talking to your kids, the conviction you have in your language has to show in your actions too, because they're watching.
Yeah. I actually have this conversation with my son quite a bit because he's very impatient. He's got big dreams and no patience. So he has these big ideas and he wants to outwork them in the next 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And so I always have this line that I say to him, it's not how quick you do it, but it's how awesome you do it. Like if this thing is worth doing, then put the time and effort into it and spend the time and enjoyment on learning and going through that process and stuffing it up a few times. And it definitely, I think he sees that because he sees me working out because I train from home and he sees me struggling with things or, pushing through something that's quite hard. And we have this conversation often. And it definitely does transfer into many different things of what are you showing up for? Is it actually important to you? And if it is, then it's worth the effort that it takes to put into that time and stuffing it up and, making mistakes and learning from them and all of those things.
Yeah. Can I ask you a slightly personal question from compared to how you saw your parents compared to how you think your kids see you? Like the workouts feels like a pretty different scenario there. Like what's that skill rippling? Like maybe it means that they work out, but what's the fundamental like virtue or skill that you think would be fundamentally different that you had to build that they're now seeing?
Um, Good question. It's not about hard work because my parents were very much hard workers. I think it's about intentionality more than anything. It's that whole work smarter piece of
Yep.
actually being intentional. So I was thinking about this morning, right? It's not just going to the gym that matters. It's going to the gym and actually doing something that is effective because time spent there doesn't achieve a result. Being effective in the time spent there is what achieves the result. And
Yep.
I think that ultimately is the skill that I want to transfer. It's not about work ethic because that my parents gave me to my detriment potentially, because it was just like work your ass off and maybe you got nothing done. You did a lot of
Yep.
stuff, but who
Yep.
can help? um, is actually know what you're trying to achieve and then put the effort into that specific thing. And I think that is very much a workout focused thing. So you're not just, working hard, you're actually trying to do something, but it transfers into many different things. The same with meal prep or lifestyle design or anything like that. Are you just setting up unreasonable amount of routines that actually don't achieve what you want to achieve? Or are you being targeted with what you're trying to set up so that you actually get to live the life you want to live? Because yeah, we can waste a lot of time doing fluff that doesn't matter, right?
Yeah, yeah, I like that. I think, I'm in a similar spot in many ways, but I've just, we've had that discussion in many different components, and I think you and I, in different ways, have had to overcome characteristics that we wanted to change. And I think in a parenting example, that's going to be highlighted to a whole nother level because it always shows up when you least expect it or when
Mm,
your guard's down a little bit. And I think it really shows through that true character of like, what have I really made stick? What are they seeing? What's showing through? Because the words are useless at this point. It's the action. And I think to circle right back to where we started from the corporate bullshit getting in the way, like that's the stuff that I see with far too many clients that they see that frustration at work. They see that nothing's getting done, yet they're having the 10th meeting about the same thing. Yet we're having the 10th meeting around the workout that has not been done, right? So I'm like,
mm,
you fix you, and then you won't be part of the problem in the work environment, right? And I think just being able to just break it down, as you mentioned, to the steps that you can control, the promises that you're holding to yourself, and the words that absolutely matter because of the conviction, the promise, and the confidence behind them, like actually backing what you do, that has such a ripple effect in both environments. And I think it's just it's a massively unstoppable force when you have that kind of strength in your word.
mm,
And the clients, and I can tell you the total separation of those two clients that we'd work with. I signed one up yesterday, and I feel like he's completed half the program before he started because I just know he's a doer, right? And I can see it in the success of his work. I can see it in the success of his initial application, and he's just like I could give him half of the program, and he'd get more value than half than most of them, right? Because it's just how you show up, how you conduct yourself, and the confidence that you know you'll follow through is the game, right? And I think it's
mm,
just it's worth it's important enough for us to dive in today. Hopefully that lands for you. And we've gone down a couple tangents. As you can see, this is never scripted outside of the initial concept we want to tackle. But I think Mandy, you walk the talk in this space very well, and it's a continual uh, development or leaning into the new challenge, the new thing that we need to overcome, right? And we had one of these the other week where it was like, fuck, I'm not good at this, right? But like next day, you're already neck deep in the finding how to improve that activity, right? And that's something that people will spend 8 months trying to prepare themselves for. Look silly, do the thing, build the iteration, and get better at it.
mm. I think the way I could summarize it in a way is, are you doing the thing to feel good in the moment, or are you doing the thing to be effective? Because often the thing that you need to do to be effective isn't the thing that feels very good in the moment. And a personal example is working on my squats, which were very ineffective a couple of months ago.
Well, wonky bum. We got rid of that.
Yeah, oh, wonky bum, wonky glutes.
Yeah.
But to get better at them, you had to keep doing the thing and feeling a bit, you had to feel the wonkiness for a little while and work out how to solve the problem. Or
Yep.
I could have gone and done my workout and done what felt good in the moment and just avoid squats.
Mm.
So was I actually going to do the workout to be effective, or was I going to do it just to feel good after the fact? Because actually doing the wonky squats and being like, oh, I just couldn't get it that time, it sucked a little bit, but you only get better at the thing by going through that suck bit for a little bit.
Yep. Yeah, Mandy's determination face is something to behold. You ever get to see it, you're a lucky person, and just step back a little bit. Um, ready to move mountains. Awesome, team. Hey, we're going to leave that one there. Hopefully, that's something to think about for your day. There is absolutely a correlation between how you're showing up in your workouts or not showing up in your workouts and how that confidence and conviction shows through in your word, with your kids, with your leadership team, whatever it might be. And get back to doing those damn workouts you said you do. Build it with those small habits. Do it on a consecutive basis. If it's a 10-minute walk, it's not about the length of the walk. It's about the thing being done. So do the thing on a regular basis that you can protect and build it back. Much better than doing a 2-hour walk once a month, right? Build there, start there. And I am your biggest fan.